G'day YouTube, my name's Lance. Welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report. Look, it's a bit shitty. Last night it was 13 to 23 and well, that's what the bomb says, but it got down to about 15 apparently, so that's quite warm for the evenings. The 23, it's been cloudy. I was looking forward to doing a couple of more time lapses, and I've been wanting to park one out the backyard and just get the stars as they do their natural curve across the sky, but all week it's just been too cloudy, so no time lapse happened. And I was even going to sit it out in the paddock there and try and grab the kangaroos coming past. God, there's one big boy there. Yeah, old Sansa dog here, she's just sitting over here. Yeah, she sits and watches them for a while, but when they get close enough and they run, well, she'll chase them and chases them to the boundary and doesn't follow them any further. But I'll work on that over the next few weeks, see if I can get a couple of time lapses with the skippies, because it'll probably work okay, because sometimes they just come out into the fresh grass and have a feed and muck around. And yeah, they're sort of there for a little while, you know, might be half an hour or more. So anyway, we'll see. That's on the goal, and the other goals have a nice clear night and get one of the stars turning. But no time lapses this week, and I couldn't even do any drone practice, flying the drone. It was just early in the week I was busy working on this bloody David Brown control valve, and yeah, that's really given me some curry, this little valve. But not to worry, we'll get there, eh? With the control valve, now I pulled it apart, put it in the ultrasonic, heated it up with degreaser, and it bubbled up, and cleaned it up as best I could. Then I got it over onto the parts washer and I cleaned it with the parts washer and blew it all out again, and come back over here with brake cleaner and blew it all out again, and I pulled all the caps out the bottom and everything, and it's as clean as I know how to get it, at least. But when I put it together, some of the valves that weren't leaking to start with were leaking once I retested it, and all I can think of is it must have just had sort of bits of muck sealing it, because yeah, it was very dirty inside. So your surge relief valve, or your cylinder relief valve here, I had to lap it by hand, and it's just a little pointy needle in a seat. Lapped it by hand and got it sealing up okay. I've had to take a couple of shims out of that to get it up around the 2500 psi mark. It was letting off at about 2000. And it's funny, I've been trying to work with the book, and if I'm going to talk about it and you're going to follow me through, I want to give good advice. So I do read the books a lot and try and work with all that. But the workshop manual says when you get a new valve here, don't muck with it. It's been preset. Don't take shims out and leave it as it is. But then when you read the other bulletins, it says, oh, you can pull the shim out and adjust the pressure if you want to. So we've done that. The hold valve gave me curry. And what I didn't realise is when I pulled it apart, and I knocked these caps out of the bottom, between the cap and the seat it didn't have an O-ring. And I could see a mark where I thought there should have been an O-ring one time, but anyway, I jumped onto the David Brown, I jumped onto Messick's and had a look at the parts diagram of the control valve, and it didn't actually, the ones I could find didn't actually show me the caps that are held in with the circlips here and the O-ring underneath. And I looked at the workshop manual, it didn't show it either. It shows all the valves, but not that. So I couldn't actually find a diagram. There'll be one, I just haven't stumbled across it yet. And yeah, with this O-ring. So I put it together as I found it, and then the end cap went in a fair way, and I thought, oh, I can't remember it being like that. And the trouble is, even though I did these for a living way back, that was back in the 80s, and I'm quite rusty, I'm finding. But that's good, I look back and I watched Shane's channel from Path of Discovery, and Barry from Man from the Mist, and Marshall Smart, I think I watch his too. And you find over time, it just jogs your memory, and I've got a heap of bulletins and things that we we're just going through scanning and sorting out. So yeah, the whole valve was leaking. So I thought, oh, I'm just going to put an O-ring in there and try it, because I couldn't find a diagram with one. So I found one the right size, put that in, lap the seat first, put that in. So I've got the hold valve holding, I've got the hold relief sealing okay. The bypass valve seems to be no trouble at all. The TCU valve, getting the nut off, it had been peened really hard and I had to actually get a punch around to get it out. I didn't have anything to go by with it. And I ended up making, I didn't want to put it in like that, so last week I ended up making this socket. It's just an old extension that lets me put it in, but I run a 1/4 BSP tap down the hole where the TCU valve goes, and so now the nut was loose and I could actually do the adjustment with my fingers. So I actually had to give it one quick hit on the side with with a centre punch, just to deform the thread enough to hold it, so I could get an adjustment that could hold. So it's in now. It's got a little bit of Loctite holding it in place. So all in all, it's not doing too bad. The hold valve does, like, there's a little weep down here, but look, they tell you it's okay. So we're going to go with that. But this old valve, it had water in it for that long, and I don't know what sort of water it had, but it wasn't nice water. And I've been having trouble with the main spool leaking all the time. And I've come to the opinion of, on the end of your spool valve, on the David Browns, on the Selectomatic valve, like mine has 98 thou. Well, at 98 thou valve travel, when I pump it up here, it just pours out. And you can see there's a little mark just there. There's a little rusty mark on the valve there. And look, I've just taken a couple of photos of it. I'll pop them in here. And you can see where the valve sat next to a port, and there's a little circle. You can just see like a shadow of a little circle where a port lined up in the sleeve that it goes in. But it was that close to the edge that it must have had moisture in it, and it's just eaten a little track out off the valve land there. It's eaten this tiny little track out on both sides, 180 degrees opposed, and I cannot get this damn thing to seal. Now, mine says 98 thou on it. I've fiddled around because, well, how do they come up with this 98 thou? I reckon they set it up in the valve. They actually work out the travel where it stops leaking out the back here. So if it's leaking out the back there, you can't build up pressure on your hand pump. If you get it to the position, so you've got to loosen the nuts and let it back until it stops leaking out here. I reckon that's what they write on the end there. So in the manufacture process, they push the sleeve in here. There'll be a figure for that, of course, but then they put this in, and because of the slight manufacturing differences in each one, I reckon they must pressure test it, and that's where they find that point where it seals, and it'll seal, and they probably give it a few thou, either way or something like that, just to make sure. Most of them seem to be like 95 to 105 thou in there somewhere. A lot of them around 100. So I started playing with this little control valve, and if I let it travel that way out 28 thousandths of an inch, or 128 thousandths of an inch instead of 98, so 30 thousandths of an inch more than it should, I can get it to seal up perfectly. I can get the pressure up, I can get it to seal up. So I'm of two minds whether I make some shims for the adjustment and try and set the whole thing up there at 30 thou too far out, And the shims, oh, where are they? So the shims under the plate here, we can always put some more shims and move this plate out a little bit. And so we can move the plate out so we have that 1 to 3 thou clearance, you know, from the arm hitting the spool. So yeah, we can. It sits here and we can test it. So we can move that out to get that 3 thou. No worries at all. Where the arm goes on and touches on the TCU valve, well, you take it up till it touches, and then take him in 1.5 turns. We could get that adjustment. So I believe we could pretty well get the adjustments that we needed, you know, with the proper gauges on. But I don't know whether I want to give it a try or not. And me being me, look, I probably will give it a try. I got the David Brown in yesterday, and I wasn't going to pull it apart until I had this valve sorted, but I am a bit keen now to pop that valve out of that other tractor, and I know the spool is seized in that, like you cannot move it. So yeah, do I have a look at that and see if it's a better spool, or which way do we go? So that tractor there, it had that diamond plate on top of the bypass valve and your hole valve. Well, it didn't have that, and so they had it on an irrigator, and it's full of water and shit. So it's just not good. So I'm at two minds what to do with that. Whether to give this a go, and you know, I've worked out the flows and all that, and the other thing I could do, and I have a tool grinder up the back. And I could, when I come down an extra 30 thousandths of an inch down here, I could nip 30 thousandths of an inch off there on my tool grinder. You know, just run him across the tool grinder and take 30 thou off. It's doable. But yeah, is it the thing to do? Well, I don't know. If you're in England, a bloke was telling me at Barclay Williams, I think he said, it was on a Facebook post we were talking about it, and he said £500 for, I think it was an exchange valve, but it was £500 for a valve, and he said both of his tractors that he'd played with over the time, he did that to both of them, where he reckons there wasn't any money in the tractors once he'd done them up, but he had good working hydraulics. But we don't have Barclay Williams here, and 500 British pound would probably be about $800, $900 Australian, and plus the freight and all that, so it's just a bit of a hassle. So there's a couple of things we could do, I suppose. One of them is run it 30 thou deeper than it should be. The other one is touch off here, take 30 thou off this and move the valve down so the land seals properly. Whether that affects these other lands, I don't know. With the hole in the middle, I think we'd have reasonable room, but who knows, you know, we've got to try it. And the other thing is machine a new valve up. And look, it's a valve with a couple of holes in it and a thread here that's threaded into it for the adjusting screw, so they could bore the hole down through the centre there. So could we do that? Look, probably. Could I get it accurate enough as a snug fit in here? Like there is absolutely no side movement there. Could I get it good enough there? Well, maybe I could, you know, with polishing and things like that, I don't know. So anyway, so that's what's, I spent every evening this last week on that valve. I'd think I'd have it right, then a bit of something would happen, and yeah, so once I worked out we had an O-ring missing, we had the ball in the hole valve missing, so I pinched the one out of that tractor because I could get it easily. So anyway, that valve's been giving me curry. We'll get it sorted out. We'll do something with it. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet, but yeah, by taking 30 thou off the bottom here, it seems like the valve gets pushed from the bottom. You know, this comes in the other way. It gets pushed from the bottom, and yeah, would the 30 thou bugger up where the lands are and make it not as sensitive. But in my case, look, it's not going to even be doing drafting. It's probably going to have a slasher on it, or a carry-all or something like that, who knows. I found a workshop bulletin the other day speaking about Fergie 35s and the power adjust rims, like the PAVT rims that are on the David Brown. Now, on the David Brown, I think the measurements have gone out of my head now. The axle flange to axle flange is something like 1760, something like that. And by the time you put the PAVT rims in on their narrowest setting, I can't fit it on my trailer to take it to a show. It just won't work. So I measured the back end, that back end I'm playing with the FE35, and they're 1660, something like that. And so if I put those PAVT rims, paint them Massey Ferguson colours and put them on a 35 or a 135, well, I can still use the rims and I can get it in narrow enough to get on my trailer to take out and about. And then in return, a set of Massey Ferguson centres and rims, which look the same. I think there's a couple of drillings different. I could put a set of Fergie non-adjustable rim, or your standard back Fergie rims on the David Brown, same stud pattern, and I could bring that in narrow enough that we could take it to shows and things once it's done. So that's something we're thinking about. Whether we get there or not, who knows? We'll just see. Yeah, but anyway, we're going to sort the PDO box and the hydraulics, and I'm going to run through the hydraulic pump. I've ordered a heap of David Brown parts, but my Sparex rep's away at the moment, and things are slowed up quite a bit. So not last week, the week before I ordered the parts, but because he's gone away and he's left it to another bloke to do, and I haven't got any parts yet. The 65 gearbox, I got one bearing of the two I needed, so I've gone and I'm filmed putting it together as far as I can there without having the top bearing to put in. It's the top bearing on the front shaft, the front bearing on the top shaft even. Yeah, we'll work away with that. Yeah, I come to a bit of a standstill there, just waiting for the bearing, but I have worked out now that I can probably put the high-low and the selector rails in and still get the bearing in the front. So it's only a case of bumping it in, putting the snap ring on, then I can start putting the rest in. So once the bearing comes, there's not much to do it to have that gearbox complete. It's just, yeah, waiting on parts. So, that's just how it is when you do this. The bushes that I knocked in there for the brake shafts, I didn't have any Sparex ones, and once again, I can sort of remember using them on the 135, and I must have not ordered them again. And I found I had to ream them out, and I had a set of Sparex ones on the 135 multi-power that I've never ever finished. It's still sitting there. I had a set of Sparex ones there, and I had a look at them, and yeah, the shaft goes in the Sparex. I had the quality tractor parts ones that I put on this tractor because it's what we had in stock at work, and I didn't have any Sparex ones, and I had to ream them out slightly to 1 3/8. So possibly be aware of that. The Sparex ones I didn't have to. I checked them just to be sure because I haven't fitted in the 135 multi-power, but I haven't put the shaft through or the brakes or anything like that yet. So yeah, just something that I stumbled across on the way. I've been to the steel place. I've bought the steel to make the new clutch pivot shafts. Haven't had time, haven't been buggering around with that, but we'll get there. Okay, I had a couple of purchases turn up through the week. Now, a video ages back, I was talking about cleaning the gearbox housing and using the stripper discs and the row-lock pads and all that. And a long-time channel follower, Jeff Parsons down south, he sent me a message and said he often uses a little needle scaler. So I went and bought one. So when we come to the next housing, which will probably be the rock shaft or hydraulic cover, something like that, we're going to give this a go in the little corners and that. It's only a cheapie, a $60 special off eBay. And we're going to, some of the flanges and that are a bit hard to do. we're going to give that a go. Jeff does it, and his tractors always look lovely, so we'll give that a run. I bought a thing. I bought a thing called a 3-footed monster, and it's from 3footedmonster.com, and it's with the new cameras and all that. It's a magnetic mount, and it's got 3 feet on it, and it's a magnetic mount with a camera mount on the top, and you can turn it around, and you know, it goes all over the place. And there's a YouTube, oh crikey, nearly tripped over my feet. YouTube channel I watch, Shad Donahue, and he's just a bloke down Newcastle way, I believe, and he does a bit of 4-wheel drive, and he was just going through his gear a week or so ago, and he said for the shots, you know, he puts the GoPro and that on his bonnet and on the side of the car, looking at the wheel and all that for his videos. And he said one of the best things he ever bought was this, a 3-footed monster. So I thought, well, that's a handy thing, because for me, I can pop it up there if I choose to, and it hangs on. And if I do a run on my tractor, which we may have coming up, I can pop that on the bonnet, and it's a good stable mount. And yeah, put the camera, like the cameras I have now, they sort out all the distortion and they keep the horizon level, so when we're hooking down the road, this will be a good thing for that. When we go up to the Cape, putting it on the bonnet and yeah, around the vehicle just for a bit of footage, it'll be a handy thing. And what happened, oh well, how these come about was, you know, in the drifting cars, they were using something like these, you know, dial indicator magnets and things like that over the years, and they were finding that they weren't going real well. You know, they'd fall off now and then. So I believe the story is a fella made this with 3 magnets, and he made this, you know, I think it was just alloy, something like that. And with the 3 magnets there and the full adjustment, they would actually stay on the side of the cars and not come off with the vibration and all that. So over the years they've developed it, and yeah, for what I do, and like for sitting on a lathe, or you know, on the back of the lathe, or you know, just on and it sticks hard. So and like here, I could just have a camera for another shot coming in there. So so we bought that. We thought, oh shit, I can see a use for it in what we do, especially when you work in a tin shed. So anyway, that's a good item. I think that'll be okay. Hope that doesn't fall over. Now, if I have a look here, my neighbour Grumpy Dave. Now, Grumpy Dave, he's had a stroke now, and he's grumpy, and he'll go months and that, and he won't give you the time of day. Then he'll just wander in, what's going on, be your mate and all that sort of thing. So, and then he'll, I don't know what I do ever, but I think he's the same with everyone. Then he hardly waves to you for a month or two or a week. Anyway, it's hot and cold, and you don't worry. You just go around your life, and he comes good and bad. So anyway, the other day he comes up and says, "You want a bench, a steel workbench?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know, why?" And he says, "Oh, it's about 1 metre by 1 metre roughly, and yeah, he wanted the room." And I said, "Oh, I suppose, you know, what do you want for it?" And he said, "Oh no, you can probably have it." And I said, "Oh no," so I've bought it off him. Well, I haven't paid him yet because he hadn't cleaned it up enough for me to go and get it yet. And anyway, he said, "Come and have a look." So I went over there and had a look, and he got a heap of old Fergie parts where he's played with tractors over the years, and you want this and you want that. And I said, "What are you doing with all this stuff, Dave?" And he said, "Oh, just, if you don't want it, it's going in the scrap." And I said, "Oh, all right." So what I ended up doing was I took the forklift over with a pallet and one old parts box on it. And I said, "Look, Dave, anything you don't want that's tractor related, chuck in that box, and yeah, well, I'll have a look and see, and yeah, see if I can save something or use something on another tractor." So we did that, which I spoke about last week. And anyway, when he used to work at Tofts, the bloke in the laser department, he would make spanners, and they'd make C-spanners for the blokes on the floor for getting into the pipes and all that you put a 1/2 inch square drive on. Now, years ago, he was showing me these spanners, and he wanted to sell me some, and so I ended up buying a set off him, and that's these fellas here. So they're all laser cut, and they'd be 10mm plate, I suppose. And I believe these are normal mild steel, these ones, but they used to have them made out of, I think he said bisalloy. And so, which was a good thing, but under his bench the other day, he had this set sitting there with a zippy tie around it, and they're just single hex. And I said, what are you doing with those things, Dave? And, well, you want them? I said, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind. And I think they're from 3/4 to 2 5/8, or 1 5/8, something like that. And what's this one say? Oh, 2 inch, so probably 2 inch. And, oh, you want them? And I said, yeah, what do you want from them? Oh, nothing, just take the bloody things. He says, I'm too rooted to use them. So he gave me a set of them, so I'll tidy them up, I'll put them on a socket rail like the other ones. And yeah, they're just a handy thing, especially some of the John Deere's, the hydraulic pipes down next to the pump, those double hex ones, they come in very handy there. And so yeah, I got some new spanners or new ends there to tidy up and see. So yeah, good on you, Grumpy Dave. So yeah, we're all mates at the moment. He's all happy. I have a Magneto here, and yep, Trevor Leeson. He's in the club, in our Rum City Vintage Machinery Club, and he dropped this off at the shop the other day and asked could I re-hit the magnets for him. So I'll do that. And I was busy in a meeting, and Ross pinged me and sent me a message and said would I do it, and I said, well, tell him to come out and do it himself. And he says, well, he doesn't know what he's bloody doing, he wouldn't know what he's looking at. So anyway, so I'm going to give him a ring today, and I can probably bead blast this and make that outer housing look really nice. And some of the threads there look a bit second hand, but anyway, I think we could tidy it up and give it a hit. But I'm going to give him a ring later. It's too early to ring people yet, but I'm going to give him a ring later and say, well, come out here after lunch, after you've had your poppy nap, and we'll do it together. And yeah, just try and hit that up and see. It's a funny shape. It's not a proper horseshoe magnet, but it's got the laminated steel in between the two magnets. So it's a bit of a different setup. That's a bit different to normal. So it's got the bearing in there. There's no windings. And the steel laminates, they go right through for the armature. I might ask him to bring the armature in too. That bearing, oh, it looks okay. So that'll be a job today. My mate Davey Rocket Recco, he's well underway with the railway trolleys at his place. He's getting a new shed put up at the moment, so he's a bit restricted for space. But look, they're getting there. They're trying to get it ready for the Bundy show. Next Saturday in Bundaberg, which is the 20th of March, there's a tractor show in at the Agro Trend grounds, or the precinct that I mentioned last week. We're going to go there. I've got the 135. You know, I was saying that the blinker switch played up and it just and stayed on and buggered around. And well, I haven't mucked with it for ages, and I thought, right, on Saturday I thought I'd better get this tractor ready. So just so I've got to give it a quick wash and take it away. So I went to test the bloody blinkers and they all work perfectly. Same switch, same everything. So it has got me stuffed. So I had it going for hours, and I went for a run around the paddock and left blinker, right blinker, left blinker, right blinker, and all that. And I can't fault the damn thing again now. So I don't know what goes on. So it's ready. And oh, an interesting thing, hang on a second. I'm back. These little top hats, pre-cleaners for the Fergies. Now, I was playing with the 135 the other day, and I've got it set so it goes to, 2250, 2300 RPM. And once you get it up around the high revs, the air cleaner gets really noisy. You can hear this and bloody, it gets really noisy just in front of you there. I thought, I can't remember tractors being like that, but they must have been. But see, the British market, they don't have the hole through the battery box. They have a little pre-cleaner under the bonnet there. But Australia's dusty conditions, we have it up higher, clearer and out of the way. So anyway, I had the engine running and I was just up at high revs and I was just pulling the air cleaner up slowly, and you could really feel the suction pulling these caps down. And once I got it off, the exhaust changed note. So I was feeling this was restricting the inlet flow a little bit. So what I ended up doing, just as a test, was where we have these, where's the light? Where we have these here, the serrations to get the air turning. So the idea is it sucks a bit of dirt up in there, then it spits it out the side here. So what I did was I got in here with a screwdriver and I opened them up a lot. Now you can see that's the one I just opened up. And if you hold it straight on, you can see it more. So what I've done, I've actually opened that up a lot more. And I went around the whole air cleaner, opened them up a little bit, and it got better, but the noise is still there. But it was certainly sucking it down less. So I got the screwdriver in again and I opened it up more again. And as far as I'm game to go. And it doesn't start making the noise till way higher in revs now. And even though it's still pulling and it does get noisy, it's still sucking this air cleaner on. Yeah, it's just, I reckon they restrict it a little bit. So the next thing is, and look, this is just for shit and giggles. I'm going to put a Donaldson pre-cleaner on mine and just see if it breathes better with a Donaldson pre-cleaner. I expect it will, because of the bigger surface area to draw the air in around the sides. So, but yeah, that was interesting. Something I'd never noticed. I knew it was noisy on the air cleaner, and you can definitely notice the exhaust note change when you pull it off and let it have full flow through the air cleaner. But yeah, just, I don't know, just something I stumbled across. So yeah, I'm going to, this is off the 135 multi-power. I'm going to open them all up and really let them breathe if we possibly can. And this pipe here might be a restriction too. So I can sort of, and I don't know if I'm bloody dreaming or not, but where this comes down in narrow again and it's opened up for the pipe, I can sort of remember the old ones being straight all the way through, I think. So there'll be more going on there yet, we'll see. But look, that's it for this week. Yeah, I'm waiting on the bearings, I'm waiting on the David Brown bits. Today, I've got the CNC router going and they're running out of crosses up at Gladstone, so I probably should put a few hours into making some of them for them. Get ahead of that a little bit if I can. They knew the router played up and I burnt the motor out or whatever happened with the motor, and so I do need to deal with that a little bit. I'll probably get the 135 out and give it a wash and bring it back into the shed so it doesn't get dusty through the week. And I nearly was going to run in and road register it, but I haven't got the flash and light wiring how I want it yet, and I just haven't got time this week to do it. So it'll just go in on a trailer this time, and we'll see. So, but anyway, look, thanks for dropping by. I'll go for a quick little walk around. I'll show you over. I spent Saturday afternoon cleaning up the yards, the cattle yards over there where old mate, dropped the trees and we cleared the fence line, but everything ended up in our place. Well, they filled the yards up with brambles as well. So I got all that done through the week. there's a big old fire heap we've had for years, and I've started pushing that up a bit, try and push the timber in and get the dirt out of it, sort of thing. We're not going to burn it, it's too close to some lovely trees, so we're going to leave that. So I got a bit done on the paddock. Up in the carports yesterday, for Mother's Day, Jude run to town, and her and my mum and Adele, the daughter, they went to the orchid show in town, then went to the art gallery and had coffees and things like that. And while everything was out, I pressure cleaned all the carports and the back veranda and the back of the house and got all that done. And got the boat up the back here again. That lets me put the Land Cruiser in under cover. And yeah, so I got a bit done yesterday, but look, I'll go handheld now, and thanks for dropping by. We'll catch you next week, and yeah, we'll take a couple of videos on the end here. We're doing a bit of a clean up the house too, and these pandanus palms that we've had there for years, boy do they make a mess. All those brown leaves, they end up in the carport and in the front lawn, and you wash the yard, you wash the carport and you mow the lawns, and with the wind we've been having, you look out and there's all these long straggly leaves everywhere. So these long blokes here, and they blow everywhere, the messiest thing. So the other day I said to Jude, I might just get rid of that, and she said, oh well, she didn't mind. So the old John Deere loader, the old John Deere loader over there, we hooked on and we just dragged them out by the roots, and away she went. I've added to the pile over there. Now, we're allowed to have a 2 metre fire without a permit, and to get a permit here you got to talk to your neighbours and tell them you're having a fire and all that, just the usual. So I've added a couple of bucket loads of timber there, so yeah, we'll see how we go. Well, this is the heap over near the bush, and this has been here for years, and I just tried pushing a bit of top off the other day, and you can see how much dirt the dozer pushed up many years ago. But I was noticing that as some of the shrubbery and that is rotting away over the years, there's all this dirt left, so I'm going to try and drag some of that out. So this was getting quite messy, so I've tidied this piece up here, and yeah, we'll just continue with that, try and clean around it a bit. Back years ago when we had horses and that in the stables here, yeah, I used to mow all through here, but I just didn't over time. So I'll go to, that's on the plan, I'll tidy all this up, old B-frame boxes, stands, and then when we come through here, oh look at that, that's where the mighty 148 lives, and the TEA hides in there as well, in the stables, and we've got a cattle trough here. But yeah, all this here, that was just yeah, it was just a big pile of sticks and everything that they knocked out when they pulled that fence out. So there was a little low spot in the paddock here, so I got some of the dirt from the heap there and filled the low spot. I probably need to drag a bit more there, but this fence is, yeah, old mate pulled it out and nothing's happened. But when you look down my fence line now, it's pretty clean. A couple of little sticks and shit that need to be pulled out, but we are getting there. But yeah, this was just our little, just a little set of yards we could hold the horses in, and yeah, so, but all that where the fresh dirt is there, that was just sticks and twigs and stumps and all bits of rubbish. So that's coming up nice. So, well, done about nice, but it's another job done. Yeah. So that little paddock sorted out. So yeah, so down the boundary there, I got a little bit of stuff, those little shrubby things on my side I'll tidy up just to keep it nice, but we're just about there with that job. And all we need to do now is, I've got this pile of sticks here. Well, the one in the yards was way worse than that, so we can get into that yet. That shouldn't be a worry. That's where I pulled the big logs out, and I've just got some heads just some sticks and twigs and all that, I'll bring the chainsaw over and just nip them up into handleable pieces, and they'll end up over on the heap. So yeah, I can clean that up and clean that up, and then we've got all the mess done. So we've been working on that over the weeks. Old Sansa loves sitting in the dirt. We have a sandy loam here. It's yeah, an old Sansa, she likes sitting in it. Hey, it's bloody good sitting in the dirt, eh? But anyway, yeah, that's when I'm not in the shed, I'm still working away at all that. But yeah, we've got the big timber pile that's building over there. That's our wood supply. I've got over near near Paulie's container here. Yeah, I'm walking around with my big camera, jarring around. I should have one of the newies. Now, where the excavator's been, like down along the fence line there, oh, they've left it rough. Like, I've had this paddock lovely and smooth, and yeah, no humps and bumps. You just roar along with the slasher. But where they've been, they've dug it up, and yeah, I try and level it out with the bucket on the tractor. The trouble is, there's so much grass in that there, it balls up and then you just drag it along. So I do have this old toolbar that Chris Hurst gave me years ago. I'm thinking I'm gonna probably assemble that, pop it behind something, and I'll assemble that just to scuffle the dirt and try and even it out and drag the grass off the top. And then I have a set of diamond harrows over there that once I've tidied the dirt up, and look, I could even plough a few runs along there, which I did many years ago. I ploughed a few runs with the Fergie plough, and yeah, and that sort of levelled out okay too. So perhaps just for the fun we could do a bit of Fergie plough and then get the toolbar across the top to level him out. I haven't got any discs, and then run the old harrows across. So anyway, I've been looking at this for a week or two, thinking that would probably be a good thing to grab and tidy up. I don't know what brand it is at all. Yep, can't recall. But yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tines there, I think, and that'd be enough just to level it out like a big rake. So we'll see what happens there.